Are you an indie podcast or content creator looking to reach a wider audience? Look no further. Introducing Podcastic, the ultimate podcast network designed exclusively for indie creators like you. At Podcastic, we believe in the power of unique voices and fresh perspectives. We're here to amplify your passion and creativity, connecting you with the growing community of engaged listeners who crave original content. Podcastic is more than just a platform. It's a support system built for indie podcasters, offering a range of resources to help you succeed. From tailored promotional campaigns to professional production assistance, we're here to help you shine. Our intuitive platform makes it easy for you to be seen and heard. We do all the heavy lifting for you. You just show up and create. Plus, with our advanced analytics, you'll gain valuable insights into your audience's preferences, allowing you to refine your content and grow your fan base. Ignite your passion, expand your reach, and thrive with podcasting. Visit our website at www.podcasticlife.com to get started. Podcasting, the home for indie podcasts and content creators.
When you get a second mouth, can you grab that in for me?
Good day, good people. Welcome to another purpose-filled episode of Lessons for the Journey, produced by Podcastic Studios and your inspired journey, live every Friday at 12 noon on Facebook and YouTube. I am your host, Dr. Hetheru, personal change coach, and joining us in the studio is my sister and co-host, motivational healer, Ma'at Sabah. Every episode, we explore and realign women's wellness, our spiritual insights, healthy relationships, and real life lessons for the journey. Every conversation is designed to help you understand your whys, heal emotional patterns, and grow in spiritual maturity as you move differently in this next chapter of life and in your relationships. If you're seeking clarity, healing, or empowerment, this podcast is for you. So we challenge you to take what resonates, set the rest to the side, and align it with your journey and where you are right now so that you can take the next steps forward in your life. We want you to leave being able to take action. And so to get us connected to our inner guidance, we use our Me, Myself, and I, or our My Memo cards to awaken our inner voice. And why that's important is that when you start to reflect on the questions, it also allows that inner guidance in you to awaken. And we need that inner guidance to awaken so it's available for you all the way through this podcast, because this is not about entertainment. This is about attainment. This is about alignment. This is about your spiritual growth and maturity and awareness. And so we are excited to connect with you today. And I am going to give you our call-in number because our topic for today is a bit exciting. And for some of you might resonate with you, and we're hoping that it will. And so you can call in on the call-in number at 810-560-0658. Again, that's 810-560-0658. And so we're going to start with our cards. Okay. Oh, yeah, these are Me, Myself, and I cards, too. Everybody in the studio has to pull a card, so I'm going to pass it over to Miles. Ooh, this looks juicy. I mean, they're all juicy. It's hard not to. Uh-oh. It says, if you were told that you would receive $50 million the moment that you totally forgive everyone who had ever hurt or misused you, how would you be able to collect it? Ooh. This is a lesson about forgiveness. Okay, let's see. Would I be able to collect it? I would say that I probably have another three life lessons that I am working on my forgiveness journey for. So probably without the money being the motivator, with my peace and my elevation as a motivator, I could be able to use that $50 million in a better way. But how would I be able to collect it is I would have to really go through a forgiveness journey for an assault that I had in my teenage years. I would need to really work on work on that one. That would be one of my major blocks. And it wasn't just because I was the only one that was assaulted. It was because he had assaulted so many other women before and after, girls before and after me. And I could have been the one to prevent it by, other than beating the crap out of him, turning him in, pressing charges so he could at least get help for his condition. But other girls I learned suffered after me because I did not do anything. So part of the forgiveness is for him, but it's also for me. I haven't really forgiven myself for not taking action at that time. So that's something I'm still working through. So that's one of my major ones. It's different when it was just me. It's not so different when I could have done something and because I didn't, other people suffered. So that's a hard one for me. That's probably the hardest one. So once I get through that one, I can collect my $50 million and pass go. Miles, what about you? What does your card say?
Oh, my card is different. It said, how should a person that loves you treat you and why?
Ooh.
What's the name of that everybody taking, that flower they taking, and it brings out all the stuff?
Is it purple flower or something? Purple flower?
No, I know. Duck flower.
Treat me like a duck flower.
Uh-oh.
No, seriously.
I heard that's immediate.
Yes.
That's an immediate exit.
Be careful. Because I have nothing but to give but the truth. I'm not going to serve you the lies. I'm not going to serve you no preservatives. Mm-hmm. So whatever's into you to give me harm, to do me harm, is going to happen to you immediately, whether you know it or not. Mm-hmm. I had a friend do me something really wrong. And so when I wanted to catch it back up to him, everybody thought he was going to get into it. I said, ain't it crazy how every time you cut on the computer, you have to think of me?
Wow.
He was like, you know what? Man, you know what? And then we separated. He came back to me. He's like, you're absolutely right. I think about you every day. I think about the wrong I did do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and that's my why. It's like, because when a person was doing things without wrongful intention, and you was wrong and immediate, guilt come immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's why we got two, God on one shoulder, the devil on another.
Right.
Nah, as soon as you do something that's wrong,
Right.
It ain't nothing to think about. So, yeah. So you should just treat me with respect and very lightly.
Mm. Wow. That's profound. My aunt, what's yours say?
What talent or gift do you have that no one knows about? Ooh. Such as singing, drawing, writing, etc. Well, my family knows, but I don't think anybody else knows that I sing. I can sing.
Ooh.
You didn't know that, did you?
No, ma'am.
I know, right? Yeah. My voice is decent. I mean, I'm not Whitney. But in the right, in the right key? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can put it down a little bit. My mom is always saying, and my sister has a beautiful voice too, so my mom was always say, you two should sing something together, and we haven't. So we'll see. Maybe we can work that out.
Out now. It's out now.
I'm record something at home, and I'm just gonna send it to you.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yes, a little more depth than my sister. Right. Well, thank you, our team here for sharing. And so the questions that we reflected on, we want you to have reflected on too. Where is your journey taking you? Can you answer these questions just so that inner guidance is awakened? So the conversation that we have about our topic, exploring our emotional patterns that you keep repeating, is our topic for today. And so our prayer is that it has opened you up and gotten you ready to take this next step of the journey with us today. So thank you to Dr. Vitanji. Hello out there. Thank you for joining us today. Looking forward to sharing this space with you. All right, and so why this topic? So as a personal change coach, I have supported women who often wonder why the same emotional experiences keep happening. And so we talk about this in our coaching sessions. The same things keep happening, but with different people. And if you understand what that feeling is like, if you've seen it in your own journey, this is going to be really insightful for you today. So in this episode, we uncover how unresolved wounds, beliefs, and survival strategies often unknowingly shape your relationships and decisions. And so at least we can bring them to your awareness. So thank you out there. I hope you're listening and you're ready to take this next step with us. So can you give us our opening question?
All right. What are the top 2 emotional patterns that you realize you keep repeating? Such as based on research for emotional psychology and recurring behavioral patterns, the top 5 emotional patterns for women that often repeat are considered reactive spirals, avoidance loops, people-pleasing cycles, reflection, and suppression. These patterns often stem from conditioning, trauma, and or the unconscious desire to repeat familiar and often painful situations. As we explore these patterns, let's keep an open mind, hydrate, drink your water, and allow our inner guidance to show us our stuff so that we can be aware enough to break the cycles and our old ways of being today.
That sounds really funny, like something's about to land. We got some beeping going off in the studio. Okay, so the question again, thank you for that, Ma, too, is what are the top 2 emotional patterns that you realize you keep repeating? And so as I reflect on that, one of the cycles that I have been repeating, and I have learned that I have repeated for a long time in my life, I'll put it that way, was that I have difficulty and always have had difficulty releasing people. Like when the season is over for somebody, I could not accept that my season with someone was not a lifetime. So we know it's a reason, a season, or a lifetime. When I was just even going into being a young woman, I had very much difficulty connecting that thought. I thought everybody was supposed to be in my life as long as I lived. And I had difficulty with separating, whether that was coworker, whether that was relationship, whether that was friendship, sisterhood. When people moved on, it was very difficult for me. And so that kind of fed into my grief. And that's one of the lessons that I learned, that, how deeply it can be connected to your grief, because I connected not releasing people with abandonment and rejection. So my strongholds. So I kept repeating it until I got to a area in my life where I reflected, where I understood this was a pattern for me. I saw the pattern. I was like, why everybody always leaving me, right? But that was my underlying issues about rejection and abandonment. And once I understood that truth about myself, I started to understand why I felt so compelled to hold on to people. And so when I understood and started to embrace that there is a reason for people being in your lives, there's a season for people being in your life, and there is a lifetime of relationships that you build. Once I started to take my hands off of it and deal with my own abandonment issues and rejection issues, because once they were tried to leave, I felt rejected. And so I took that in my relationship. So that pattern kept repeating again in my friendships and my relationships, even with people I work with. I had difficulty when people, took another job or left and went to another department. Like those things really troubled me. And so it took a lot for me to get there to learn the lesson. But once I did, I understood me better. Then I had better, healthier relationships. So let's see, we have some comments out there. Dr. Ratanji said, I'm a trauma recovery coach. That's true. And helping ungrateful people. Yeah, that's one of her struggles. Yes, understood. Maud, how about you? What was your journey like, if you had the repeating patterns?
Self-sacrifice. And my 2 biggest ones are self-sacrifice and being a perfectionist. The perfectionist part is, I don't know if that comes from being a mother and having, been in business like forever, ever since I was a teenager, worked in business with family and my own. And then being a mother, like, you have to make sure everything is exactly the way that it has to be, that things are done on time. You got to know where everybody's socks are and where their homework papers are and things that they forgot. And it's like, and then being the oldest girl, like, you don't get the opportunity to slip. And then in business, certain things might be time sensitive. You can't afford to forget certain things. And so I think that's where the perfectionism came from. And then the other thing, sometimes when you ask, well, I don't even know if I should say sometimes, a lot of times when you ask people to do things and they don't do it to your expectation, you have to turn around and do it again. So I think that's the driving force for that. The self-sacrifice part, anybody that's in my immediate circle, once you're in my heart, you're in my heart. And whatever it is you need, if I can do that for you, I'm going to do it. Even if it's to my detriment, to a degree. So, and, I guess you could call it, you can't call that love language, but because I should not be sacrificing myself on some things, but then it depends on what it is. If it's something that's going to cost me my time, effort, money, or whatever, if it's something that's super important to another person, then I'm going to do it, period, and point blank. If it's something that's going to enable them, and I'm aware that it's going to be enabling, then I won't do it. So it just kind of depends on the situation. But for the most part, that's a self-sacrifice is something that I'm working my way through to overcome that and balance it more than I have been, in the past. So I think those are my main two.
And if you're listening out there, really reflect on for yourself. We kind of highlighted some of the top ones, the people pleasing, and we're going to get a little bit more into describing it, but what that looks like, that you recognize, I keep repeating the same thing. How do I break the cycle? How do I break free? So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but it is the awareness behind it. So for me, I had to keep unpacking it until I realized that it was my abandonment issues. So my abandonment issues and my rejection issues that was motivating my holding on to people so tightly that it was affecting me emotionally, mentally. It was a grief process for me. And so for those of you who are kind of in that pattern, and doing that level of reflection will help you to understand what is at the core of it. And sometimes you have to keep unpacking the experiences until you get to it. And it is a process of honesty. The first person that you lie to when you lie is yourself. And so you can get caught up in your own lie and justification and defensiveness about things. When you remove the judgment meaning the good, the bad, the right, and the wrong. When you can move those out of the way, you can see more clearly your path. And really, it's such a process. When you say something, it's like, oh, well, that's this and that's that. If you're able to get beyond that point and the defensive, you can still find your way. And that's what we're looking to do and looking to help you to do today. So the next question is, when do you find yourself in people-pleasing cycles? So people-pleasing cycles, and this is one that I talked about, is self-sacrifice. It says many women fall into this pattern of putting others' needs first to a damaging degree, often driven by guilt or need for validation. This involves suppressing one's own needs to avoid conflict or rejection, leading to burnout and resentment. And so when I think about examples of that, I can use some of those from the journey and also from some of the women that come to me for coaching. One example of the self-sacrificing or the people-pleasing is that one of my clients did it a lot on her job. And so in order to keep the peace, she would know that something that could cause a delay or something that could cause on the consumer end that could cause somebody potential harm, her instinct was to keep on telling the leadership and the management that if you continue with this process is going to, it's going to harm someone. It's not efficient. And because she would say it so often, they just like, oh, you just a troublemaker. You just, being negative. You're just, and so once she had, she kept getting, write-ups about it. And the supervisors were complaining, you're always complaining, you're always negative, but they would never do anything about it. And so, again, against all the write-ups and the reprimands that she was getting, she's like, but nobody is doing anything. And so eventually she stopped. She stopped, trying to intervene. And she said, well, because it was causing her harm. And it wasn't exactly that she was trying to people please. She was sacrificing herself for the greater good. But of course, they didn't see it or didn't appreciate it. And so what she decided to do was just to pull back. And so when they would, after she started pulling back and she did all she could do, she would let the process unfold. And when the process unfolded at the other end, as she had, I don't want to say predicted, but as she had understood that there was harm at the other end, she had to release it. And then they had to take the responsibility for it. And so, we do have those opportunities when you have to weigh, you want the best for others, but should it be at your detriment is the question. And is there a workaround? Is there a workaround to your self-sacrifice? Is there another way to accommodate that need? And so eventually she decided to write, together we had written up a new process that would, be more preventive. And so she was able to use that process and send it to the upper management, those who, were a little bit more receptive, especially because they understood that there's a harm to my profit at the other end. And so it was better received. And then the trickle down effect was that those people who would not make the decisions were able to make it. So yes. So that's just an example of how it might show up at work. How do you think it might show up in a relationship or in a family dynamic? That self-sacrifice. You talked as a mother before, so maybe.
Yeah, as a mother, as a sibling or child, I think the root of self-sacrifice, because when you look at our challenges, they usually always go back to something in childhood. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that the self-sacrifice the root of that is mommy and daddy, am I doing okay? That the validation that you're good enough, which most of the challenges that we have, the root of that is being good enough. So that can come with siblings and sibling competition. And so to get the attention of your parents, you'll do something to be the good child, the golden child, the better one. Mm-hmm. And you can self-sacrifice that way. Or even as a sibling, do things for a sibling, or a sibling asks you to do things that you normally would not do or would not want to do because you want them to love you. Mm-hmm. So, they make you carry their book bag and make you go in the store and steal the candy so they don't get caught, that type of thing. Right. So you can get a pat on the head.
Right.
And so I think from the family dynamic and even other relatives, it's basically the same thing, where you'll do things to get the approval and the love of other people.
Right. Absolutely. And sometimes that sacrifice is your values, that you may not be a smoker, but you will go into an environment where people are smoking. to be a part of whatever social event is happening. Or you might go along with something that you don't agree with, that you have deemed that that's not something I do. And so you find yourself doing it anyway because you got caught up in the social aspect of it or the emotional aspect of it. You just got caught up. And so just food for thought. We're going to move on to the next one. If you have any reflections on the repeating cycles of people pleasing, feel free to give us a call at 810-560-0658. And so we're going to go on to the next one while you give some thought to that. So number 2, do you mind?
When do you find yourself in reactive spirals? This pattern often involves intense, often uncontrollable reactions to stress or emotional triggers. They may appear as sudden mood swings or taking the bait when conflict arises, rather than responding calmly. This is frequently driven by an underlying feeling of being too much for some people to deal with, too difficult to be with, and or feelings of being not enough, feeling inadequate or self-conscious. Okay.
Let's see. I think one of the examples you find that is often in relationships where like your partner might say something that triggers you and you kind of explode behind it, knowing that particular trigger is explosive for you. You would, keep putting yourself in that position or not heal from that so it is not explosive. So unpacking whatever that trigger is to understand that, maybe they did not mean it that way to cause harm, but the harm was within you from a memory or something that it triggered. And so I can think about, a couple of situations like that. If you've come from a challenging relationship, and I know Dr. Batanji's out there, and she's a trauma-informed coach. I'm sure she has lots of this within her coaching, but to also recognize that when those things happen, what do you need to unpack to understand it better? So it could be a trigger that maybe at some point in your life, people who drank alcohol or got high reacted a certain way, that caused harm to you or made you uncomfortable or put you in a position to have to fight or the fight or flight, right? And so this time in your life, when you see that come up again, you are triggered emotionally by it and you make the assumption that this person is going to behave or act or say or do the same harm that the one in your past has done. So the minute it happens, you're like, why are you drinking? I'm not doing this. And, and just kind of exploding because of what you were actually having that memory of what happened to you in the past that you are now bringing to your present instead of dealing with the emotional trauma and the drama that came along what happened in the past. Can you unpack that to find the real root of it? That your experience is that people who drink or are high can say or do things that are out of character, and that may cause you harm or put you in harm's way. And so even beyond that, unpacking that out, when did that happen or where did you see that happen in your past? And did you see an effort for change? And if you didn't find an effort for change, that is also a part of the control. So in terms of strongholds, control would be your reason for reacting in the way that you do. That trigger is, I got to control this situation. I have to control it with the anger. I have to control it with my violent response or my exaggerated response. I have to control the situation now. Now this is where I am. I have to take control. And so that also is a part of the trigger. That the way that you're exploding, you're thinking that your intimidation is going to stop the direction or stop the action that's taking place. And it may even just incite it. And so it's important as we think about the reactive spiral that how we respond and that we can change our response. that we don't have to take our immediate, whatever our reaction, our normal reaction to something. We can pause and breathe, or we can remove ourselves from the situation or the conversation, that we can take a different approach than we've always done.
I want to add a little bit to that too. Something that came up was I'm talking more about people in relationships. When people get into relationships, whether they realize it or not, they take a list of fighting points. And so when they have a disagreement with their significant other, then they'll pull those points that they know will trigger the other person. And when a person is triggered, they can respond in any number of different ways. They could stop talking, they could argue, fuss, get violent, or fight back verbally. They collected a bullet point on you as well. So working on your own, this is, why we speak about doing your own inner work so much, is because identify the places within you, identify the triggers, like what is it that makes me mad? Why did that person say that to me, and why did I get upset about it? And start to work on those parts of yourself so that you don't get triggered. Because unless you learn how to fight fair, you're going to, at some point in time, if you don't fight fair, both of you lose the war. So working on yourself so that when you find something within you that needs to be worked on, or as we say, the trigger, and get to the root of that, then you can't be triggered. So that just came up of not fighting fair in relationships.
That unfair fighting it's a real thing. And I'm sure those of you listening out there have had those experiences where the fight wasn't fair. You were triggered and then made to feel like it was all your fault. And part of that is truth, but only part. Because if somebody already knows what hurts you or harms you and they continue to do it to you, there are two things that need to happen. They need to learn more around why it hurts you and how it hurts you. And you need to understand why it hurts you and how it hurts you. You have to unpack that so that you don't have that sting, and that you're not at somebody else's whim of how they want to try to control the situation. And really, that is about control. If you know that something harms somebody and you want to control the situation, you want to control what harms them, because you know. And so you want to, just be in that space of manipulating for a sense of power and control. And that really is the bottom line for that. But there's a reason that people need to heal from that action and from that reaction. So that's another opportunity for us to grow and do that inner work. Okay, how about the next one? Let's see. When do you find yourself in an avoidance loop? Instead of facing painful emotions or difficult relationship issues, this pattern involves avoiding discomfort. This can take the form of distracting oneself, withdrawing from intimacy, and keeping your distance emotionally by creating an argument, changing the subject, checking out, shutting down, or even ghosting someone to protect yourself against potential heartache. And, we see this a lot in relationships, both for males and females in relationships. When we are in a space where we are lacking our spiritual maturity and lacking in being spiritually aware, we are missing the mark. We are missing the opportunity to grow in healthy ways, to share a space of honesty with the person who has disappointed you, the person who has, and partly that is, what we are triggered by in the avoidance loop, and how we understand that conversation and what we do about it. And so this is an opportunity for you, again, to look into your backstory. Look into your backstory and figure out, why did this make you shut down? Why did you avoid the conversation? Why did you run? Why did you not respond to somebody? Why did you not respond to the phone calls or the text messages or the way that the person is trying to communicate back to you? Why can you not approach it in a way that is mature and reflective so that the real root of the problem can be solved. You have some insight on that, Maud? This is the avoidance loop that we're talking about too.
The avoidance, I think the way that people respond in terms of the avoidance part is learned behavior too.
For sure.
I know I'm not an arguer. I'm not going to argue and I'm not going to fuss. I'll go quiet. And because I don't like to argue and I don't like to fuss. I don't like the hollering and screaming and all of that. So I'll just shut down and be quiet until I can figure out a better way to communicate, if it's somebody that you can even communicate with, because some people you can't. Because when they get started, it's not going to end anytime soon, and it's not going to end well. So depending on who you're talking to would depend on how you would figure out how to respond to that person. Sometimes you just need to, just don't say anything. Just leave it alone because it's going to escalate. So it's, in essence, it's kind of like you read the room. Any kind of avoidance, how would I put that? It depends on what it is, because sometimes it's a time-sensitive thing, and you need to address it right away. Your ability to deal with stress, I think, again, is learned behavior and how you handle situations. You learn on whether you're a type of person that confront it head on right then, if you're the type of person that completely avoids it, never wants to bring it up ever again, hoping that it will go away and you'll never have the conversation, or one that needs to just get some time so that they can regroup and figure out how to deal with it. Examining what your avoidance system is, and is it working? Does that work for you? And if it doesn't work for you, seek other ways to learn how to resolve situations and challenges.
And I also say that I think it's fair for you to go one round, get out what you need to say, and so that you can hear, like, it really is an exchange. So if the person, and often there's, one person is more of an aggressor than another, depending on the subject too. But if the other person is the aggressor, then let them say their piece, listen, you say your piece, and if there's still, of course there's a rebuttal, because a lot of times we are responding from our defensiveness versus our listening skills. We don't like how it was said. We don't like what was said. We don't like the timing of what was said. So we have some other dynamics that are happening as we are interpreting what is being said. The safe space, like I said, because so you have something that you have to say, whatever is said to you, you have your thoughts and opinions on it. Allow yourself an opportunity to say it. But one of the keys, especially when you're dealing with men, is not to escalate your voice, but to de-escalate your voice. So the softer and the less colorful metaphors that you're using, so cussing and fussing, say your piece clearly. And this is a skill. We talk about learned behavior, but this is also a learned skill. We talk about this in my Navigating Men series, but one of the opportunities that you have is to de-escalate the situation. If you're yelling and screaming and he's yelling and screaming, you're matching each other. And if you really want the match, and when you de-escalate, he'll de-escalate and he'll match you instead of you matching him. So, and I don't want to use this as a form of control, but it's a form of navigating and managing your circumstance. Manage you, and then he will accommodate. If he's still yelling, then and this is by the second round or the third round, then go silent. Listen and say, I'm just going to listen. Say that. Actually tell the person that you're doing that, so that you're not antagonizing them and they're not antagonizing you, to continue to get you to argue back and forth. And sometimes people do that too, because again, that's another form of control. So for you to be able to navigate and manage yourself, de-escalation is most important. Sharing what you need to say, and then being very clear that I'm just going to listen. And you don't have to say it with an attitude. Remember that you are being respectful so that respect can be matched back to you. And it's a subconscious reaction. That's why you can get triggered when somebody yells at you. That's your response, is to yell back. That is matching energy. So you want to take the opportunity to navigate the circumstance that is in front of you. And one of the fastest ways to do that, say your piece, let that exchange happen. If they have something more to say, let them say it. And then your response is, I'm just listening to what you're saying. And then at a later time and say, or you can say at a later time when it starts to de-escalate, let's talk about this after dinner. Let's talk about this in the morning. Let's sleep on this. Give some direction so that they understand why you have made a certain decision and that you have not shut down or shut them out. Because it's a very difficult space to be in when somebody shuts another person out. There are all kinds of thoughts that go through your head. Again, the abandonment, the rejection, the control, the pride. You trigger other things when you're not clear about what you're doing. And so just to be mindful that there are other ways that you can navigate, especially this avoidance loop.
I want also, when it comes to the arguing and the fighting, again, discern about who it is you're dealing with. Because if you have a person that is on drugs, or they're been drinking, or they have some mental challenges, you have to be very careful about how you deal with those people. Mm-hmm. And sometimes avoidance is the best and the safest thing, mm-hmm. depending on the situation. Or just to agree. It's like, you know what? I see your point. And just, de-escalate, I think, is one of the more important things when you're dealing with a person of a certain mindset, or a person that has, something else going on, like that, they're high, or they're drunk, or whatever. And then even to be in a situation like that is something that you might want to reconsider. Mm. Because if it's not healthy and it's not safe, you might want to ask yourself, like, why am I even in this situation in the first place?
Absolutely. And again, if you are finding yourself in a crisis, and it's someone also that's dealing with a mental health crisis, please dial 988. There's a crisis prevention line that can help you in the midst of whatever you are facing. That is why they are there. It's crisis prevention in terms of health and harm as well, and they can guide and direct you from there. So you do have options and you do have resources.
I never knew that. 988.
988 on your mobile phone.
I've never heard that before.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
That's
and they will
know.
stay with you until the situation stabilizes, whichever situation you're facing. Mm. Yeah. Okay, so can you take number 4?
When do you find yourself rumination and overthinking? This involves replaying conversations, mistakes, or past traumas in the mind for hours or days. This loop often results in excessive self-monitoring and harsh self-criticism, which reinforces a cycle of anxiety and inadequacy. Sometimes we call this process beating yourself up. Overly reflective with no intention of resolution. The thought is stuck in your head. Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah.
What did they call that? When you just keep victimism. Mm. Yeah, that's a victim consciousness.
And so how do you start to unpack to even get to that being a victim consciousness?
Most people that have a victim consciousness have no clue that they have it. Mm. So sometimes the people that are close to you and the people that love you, pay attention to what they say to you. And they might make comments to you to let you know that the way that you're thinking is not healthy, but you don't necessarily receive it. Because if you don't know you're doing it, how would you ever know? Unless you come to that realization on your own. If you start to look at reoccurring patterns in your life and reoccurring situations that you realize, like, you'll make comments and hopefully maybe it'll sink in as like, why do I keep getting into the same relationships over and over and over again? How come nobody likes me? Why do I keep getting fired from my jobs? So if you start having that internal dialogue, that's an opportunity for you to see that there's something that is going on with the way that you think. And the responses that other people make to you is an example of your consciousness. So again, like I said, the victim consciousness, they don't realize that their consciousness is what's drawing the victimization to them. They're not aware of that. So inner work, a lot of self-reflection, prayer, meditation, being still, and reflecting at the end of the day on what your day went, how your day went, what were your interactions with people. Do you have more positive or do you have more negative interactions with people, and why? Now, that could be looked at as overthinking, because if you think about it too much, technically that would be overthinking, but you should come up with an answer. If you're constantly thinking about something and you don't come up with an answer, that's a problem. So, and seek counsel, find, if you don't come up with an answer on your own, you don't have maybe you don't have the tools for it. So seek out someone that has the capacity to assist you in that.
Right, and of course, that's what you do with Relationship First Aid.
It absolutely is.
That's what I do with Person Coaching. So,
absolutely.
So you have tools, you have resources right here, and you can call us at 810-560-0658 if you have any comments or thoughts you want to share. And so, another way that is a tool for helping you to navigate that and seeing it is to use your journal. Write it down so that you can see these situations happen over time. It's a great way to use your journal as a tool, as a healing tool, that when those things come up, so you can see when it comes up, you can kind of share what the dialogue was. You can say what somebody said that they saw in you, or that caused them to feel a certain way, and then you can look at, wow, so-and-so said this day, so-and-so said that day, so-and-so said this that day, and they're all saying the same thing. Is that cause for pause? Absolutely. Should you look at it more deeply? Absolutely. That is not something that you want to avoid, because we're mirrors for one another. And so sometimes if somebody sees something in you, or you are triggered by something in somebody else, it could be the mirror reflecting so that you can see it on somebody else. That you can see yourself or your own behavior mirrored in somebody else. And so in those instances, it allows you that additional communication. It allows you that additional support system, because in order for you to do your best and be your best, you've already asked for that. And so this is how it plays out. It plays out. Sometimes it's in a painful way to help you see yourself. But when you do, you're able to heal yourself as well. And so that's what we talk about when we say, man, woman, know thyself. Know what harms you. Know where it's coming from. That's the inner work. That's the self-work that we encourage you to continue to do.
This goes back to what we talked about earlier, too, about validation. Mm-hmm. So when you beat up on yourself, that's that I'm not good enough conversation. So we're right back again at the self-reflection. Why is it that you don't feel good enough? Why are you beating up on yourself, or why do you feel that other people beat up on you? And if they do, it's because you're beating up on yourself. Mm. They're reflecting back to you what you do to yourself. Mm. So again, it's all rooted in self-love.
Absolutely. Our last question is, this is a part of our emotional patterns that we repeat, and for women in particular. So number 5 is, when do you find yourself entertaining emotional suppression? Emotional suppression. Many women are conditioned to believe they must remain calm, pleasant, or unemotional to be accepted. This often leads us to bury emotions like anger or sadness, which often manifests as chronic tension, fatigue, or sudden or explosive outbursts or physical violence later on. And so when you are navigating this part of yourself, and it's kind of like the nice girls, or the nice that you're supposed to be, that some people consider a badge of honor, when underneath you're cringing, underneath you're exploding, keeping all of that inside to have the persona of nice is not healthy for you either. It is one of those repeating patterns. And it doesn't allow you to be and express your authentic self. And I understand that some of it is about being able to control yourself, but also being able to be your authentic self. Your authentic self doesn't have to be explosive. It could be responsive versus reactive, right? So how you respond to a certain situation, or when you are feeling that whatever you're receiving is, you can actually say something, and you should say something. It is in what you say and how you say it. People can also respond more to you when you're honest about, that makes me, when you talk like that, or when you treat me that way, or when I hear those types of things, I feel this way, without accusing the person of doing harm to you. I feel this way. People can't debate your feelings, although they try. People can't debate your feelings. Now, if you said, you did this to me and you make me feel this way, and it's your fault, when you start putting fault on other people on how you feel, it's not a healthy situation for you or for them, because change doesn't happen that way. What happens is you build animosity, and you go back with this back and forth energy of animosity versus expression and understanding what is your inner work. Why did that feel a certain way to you? Why did you receive it that way? That's some inner work to do too, but it doesn't mean that you don't express how you feel to keep your nice title. And so people need to understand that, if there are things that hurt you, you can say that hurt me, or I was hurt by that. Again, without saying you did it and I'm accusing you of harming me. I felt this way. And so taking ownership of your own feelings without being a victim. And we talked a little bit about that too. Have ownership of how you feel. These are your feelings, but there are deeper things when they're revealed to you of what work you need to do. And so that's another way to think about entertaining emotional suppression. Any thoughts on that, Ma?
This shows up a lot as, again, when you're a mother or a woman in position of leadership. So let's say you're a manager or CEO or whatever, and you are responsible for delegating. And even as a parent, you have to delegate. Now, in those positions, you're going to get triggered consistently. And you want to learn healthy skills in a way to navigate those challenges and how to deal with people and how to deal with your children. If you have more than one child, you have more than one personality, and you deal with your children differently based upon their personality. And the same thing if you have people that work up underneath you. You deal with them accordingly, but you also have policies that you're responsible to follow as well to enforce whatever it is that needs to be enforced. So that can be stressful, because if you're in a position of leadership, a manager, and you go off on somebody, then that could be your job. If you're too calm, then they might not respect you. So creating that healthy balance in these situations is important. And if you don't find a healthy way to channel that energy, then you will suffer physically. So it would be, and that's where blood pressure comes from, overweight, depression, overeating, not eating. So it would be good to get body work done, which would be massages, or some people like to do the hot tub, or meditation, finding good outlets, maybe going out to comedy club or something. Find an outlet to release that energy on a regular basis. When you see that you're reaching your 10, before you get to 10, and you start to see yourself getting past 5 or 6, then that's when you need to do some examination and de-escalation and whatever the situation is that you're dealing with. Because again, when it starts to affect you physically, when you don't feel well physically, you're more likely to lash out at people and then to handle it in the way that you're trying to avoid. So it's creating a healthy balance again, with family and business.
Thank you. So why these patterns repeat? These patterns are often heartbreak protection loops. They act as survival strategies for the nervous system. Even if they are harmful, the brain craves familiarity, causing women to unconsciously repeat the dynamics that mirror early life or past relationship wounds in a misguided attempt to heal them. And so your body is trying to heal in the spaces where your mind is also triggered. And so this is a opportunity for you again to use some really amazing tools. One of those tools being your journal. Journal those things, write them, get them out of your head, get them on paper where you can see them and get out of the mental loop of overthinking. Another tool, again, if it's a major crisis, you can dial on your mobile phone 988. It's a crisis intervention line. And you can talk with someone who is trained to help you in this de-escalation process. So that's another opportunity. And then the second opportunity is to pause and see what is being mirrored. What are you being shown? What are you responding to? What does that connect, or how does that connect to your backstory or your inner work? These are all ways that our body is helping us to understand us better. And so the more that we are building in that space, the more that we are releasing in that space, the more aware, spiritually aware, and spiritually mature we are becoming. And because we are both a physical being and a spiritual being, we have a set of spiritual tools. We have a set of physical tools. Physical tools need physical things. Physical situations need physical tools. Spiritual situations need spiritual tools. So this is where you activate your prayer life. This is where you activate your affirmations, speaking your thought, your words, and your actions, speaking those things into your world, into your life, so that the doors of understanding open to you. And that's what we want for you. That is exactly what we want you to leave with today as we close out. I just want to have a couple of announcements, but let's tell them how they can reach you.
So my email address is relationshipfirstaid@yahoo. The website is relationshipfirstaid.com. And then on Instagram, Relationship First Aid. So it's really be most effective if you email me. You get the quickest response that way.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to thank you all for tuning in today. Here are a couple of things that I want you to know. The first is, if you want to continue to explore this sacred feminine journey, we can connect one-on-one for coaching. We also have upcoming workshops. We have a book club every third Wednesday of every month at 6:30. It is in person. This month's book is Know Thyself, Getting Over the Hump by Tiffany Tilley. We are meeting next Wednesday, I believe it's the 19th. I think it's the 19th. Next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. in person. You need more information, please reach out and give me a call at 313-759-7855. And also, we have every second Sunday, we have our Navigating Men series, where you're learning more about some of the things that we talked about today, how to navigate in conversation and in relationship, because we are in a season where our relationships have to be more priority, where our families are lifted up in priority, because it is the unity and the coming together in this season that is really important to us. The individual work has to be done, but that work has to be done with a purpose. The purpose of joining together, building in our relationships, our intimate relationships, and our families. We are down, and we were looking at statistics this week around Black marriages, and Black marriages are around 35%. 35%. And so that also, if you look at it, it also offers opportunity. It helps you to know that your mate is out there. And there's some things that you need to do to draw him to you. And in our Navigating Men series every second Sunday is an opportunity to get some of that information. Get found, get connected. And all the self-work that you're doing is part of the process of matching you with the right man where you are right now. And so the last thing I want to share with you is that you can also find out what's happening on our social media. You can find out on my aunt's social media about some of the things that she has coming up, whether those spiritual products and tools for your inspired journey, whether there are new books that are coming out. We have a workshop coming out, or seminar coming out for our Emmy Way process, and that Emmy Way is for parents, it is for youth practitioners, and it is for teachers. This is a different way to embrace your students, especially the ones that are male and the ones that you find that have been most difficult. Here are some really great tools to be able to, for parents to navigate your sons. This is a great opportunity for us to build on over 70 years of experience in navigating our boys. And so we are excited about sharing this opportunity with you. Looking forward to sharing you the book. We have an ebook that goes along with that resource. And so looking forward to seeing you there and connecting you. So you can always reach me. I am Dr. Hetheru at yourinspiredjourney.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Check out my YouTube videos. A lot of these lessons are there for you to continue to grow and understand. Until next time, we thank our engineer, Miles Dixon, for holding us together this afternoon. And we thank you out there for listening. Hey, Rich, glad you had a happy birthday. And you're a beautiful wife, Monique, her birthday too. So shout out to you and your family for all the wonderful birthdays this month. And we just want you to have a great day. Take it all in, hydrate, and stay clear.